Alright, so we're starting the second half of patch 3.0 in a couple of days, and that means new second half character banners, and a bunch of players are going to be summoning for Aglia, but she's not the topic of this video. With the second half banners, we're also getting our second rerun of Robin, who is currently the best Harmony unit in the game in my opinion. And for anyone who doesn't have her, I would highly recommend pulling for her. But we also have some good info on another Harmony unit that will come out in the next patch, Tribbie, who may very well become the next best support. So who is better? Should you pull for Robin? Or skipping her is also an option if you're planning to pull Tribbie in the next patch? That's what we are going to discuss in this video. So leave a like if you find this video helpful, and let's get started. Lootbar.gg is the best top-up platform for games like Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, and even Zenless Zone Zero, with tons of positive reviews and insane discounts for every item compared to the in-game ones. You just go to lootbar.gg, select your preferred game, select the pack you want to purchase, then paste your UID, select your region, and that's it. Click on top up now, and within a moment, you get your J's. Lootbar provides fast and easy user experience and a totally secure way to buy currency, as all the topping up is done through official Hoyoverse routing channels. So don't you worry, it's totally safe. Some of your favorite and well-established content creators also use Lootbar. So go and check out lootbar.gg right now. Link is in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Now before I fully dive into my thoughts on both of these units, let me first give you a simple overview of Tribbie. And since I'll be showing some damage calculations, I'll also explain the build I'm using on Tribbie. So Tribbie is a Quantum Harmony unit who provides AoE rest penetration and damage taken vulnerability, both of which are extremely rare and insanely strong. Both affect the multipliers on the enemy side, hence resulting in much higher damage increase than a standard damage boost. And even with all this, she's also a sub DPS with some nasty damage output. Tribbie's skills grants her Numinosity for 3 turns, and while she has this buff, all allies rest penetration is increased by 24%. And since this buff is on Tribbie, the duration of this buff is based on her turns, meaning you don't have to build speed on her to keep the buff active. Her ultimate is another major source of damage increase. She activates a zone while dealing AoE quantum damage to all enemies, and also all the damage from Tribbie scales of her HP, not attack. So keep that in mind. Her ultimate also provides 30% damage taken to the enemies, and when any ally attacks any target while the zone is active, they deal additional quantum damage based on Tribbie's stats. The zone lasts for 2 turns, which is not that long, but given Tribbie's low energy costs, we can keep this buff active permanently. Finally, her talent, which launches an AoE follow-up attack when any ally uses their ultimate, and as I said, all the damage from Tribbie scales of her HP stat. Now her overall damage is pretty good, but it gets further boosted by her passives, one of which increases her damage dealt by up to 216%, and another passive increases her HP based on her allies' total HP, which when combined, gives Tribbie some great damage potential. Now let's talk about some of her key points. Since she doesn't have any complicated activation on her buffs, and is overall a very simple unit to play, you can just focus on building her with proper damage stats. And since her major source of damage is her follow-up attack and ultimate, which are not affected by how much speed she has, and she doesn't really need speed as her buff's duration is based on her own turns, you can pretty much just ignore speed stats completely. And that would allow you to use a relic set like the Poet of Morning Collapse. This set can provide up to 32% crit rate if your speed is lower than 95 in battle, which you can achieve. Let me show you this simple build I managed to cook up. Now keep in mind that this is still just based on the info I currently have at the moment. If we see any major changes to her kit in the future, this build may also change a bit, but the principle behind it would still stay the same, and that's what I want you guys to understand. Now first, her speed. Tribbie's base speed is 96, which is already higher than the relic set requirement, but the 4-piece set also decreases speed by 8%. So not only her base speed works, you can even go up to 102 speed on her and will still be able to proc the relic set. So even if you somehow manage to get a few extra speed stats, as long as you are not above 102 speed, you're fine. The next is going to be crit rate. Since she gets 32% crit rate from this set, she starts with 5%, and she also gets 12% crit rate from her bonus stats. You already have 49% crit rate without a single substat. For a standard DPS build, I always recommend at least 70% crit rate. So for her, just try to get above 21% crit rate from relics, and you're good to go. Here in this build, I have about 44%, but that is with the starting 5% and the 12% from her bonus stats. Add the 32% from the relic set, and you are well above 70%. For her crit damage, at least try to reach 180%, but that won't be a problem with the new planar set that we are getting in the next patch. This new set provides 28% crit damage. Add that with the starting 50%, a crit damage body, and the 37% from her bonus stats, you are exactly at 180% without a single substat. But for this extra 28% crit damage, you need to have over 5000 HP on Tribbie. Now you will always be using an HP boot on her, which will give you quite a lot of HP, but you will also need a few extra substats. You can reach 5000 HP just with relics, but if you can't, then since this set does not say that you have to have 5k before the battle starts, you can take advantage of Tribbie's passive that provides her HP based on her team's total HP. Lastly, always use an ERR rope, as that will allow her to get a 2 to 3 turn ultimate rotation. And since we are talking about rotations, let me touch on our light cones as well. If you are not going for a signature, then just use meshing cogs. This will allow you to get a 2 to 3 turn ultimate, and if she gets hit a lot, then you can get your 2 turn ultimates more often. I'm gonna provide a full light cone comparison in my final guide, so look forward to that. But for now, this is pretty much everything you need to know about Tribbie. And this is also everything I'll base my comparisons on. By the way, if you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing, as it does help the channel grow and motivates me to make more content for you guys. Now that we have a proper understanding of Tribbie's kit and the baseline I've set for this video, let's compare both Tribbie and Robin. As usual, with any of my comparison video, I'm gonna judge them based on a few aspects. The first is going to be their standard buffs and how much they are effective. Aside from their personal damage, Tribbie provides 30% damage taken and 24% rest penetration at E1. She also provides herself over 200% damage boost and over 800 HP, whereas Robin provides a team-wide action advance every 3 turns or so, 50% damage boost, 1000 attack, and 20% crit damage. And she also provides an extra 25% crit damage if it's a follow-up attack. Disregarding the self-buff from Tribbie and the follow-up attack part from Robin, the damage amplification from both units are pretty significant. So let's just take an example, like the Herta, our newest main DPS. Here's a chart showing the damage difference of Herta's personal damage, with both Tribbie's and Robin's damage buffs applied to her. We see that Robin does have the edge. This chart is based on a single the Herta rotation, and the 100% action advance does increase her damage by a lot, and Tribbie is clearly behind. But this is only her personal damage. As I've already explained, Tribbie is also a sub DPS, and Robin also provides additional damage inside her ultimate. So if you were to add the extra damage, now we see that Tribbie completely flips the table on Robin. Even though Tribbie's buffs are a bit inferior to Robin's in terms of a unit's personal damage, her own damage output is just so much higher than Robin. And on that topic, let's compare their personal damage output. Here's a chart showing both of their damage output. Of course, Tribbie's damage is based on the build I just showed, and even with meshing cogs, which does not provide any kind of damage increase to Tribbie, her damage is just miles ahead of Robin. I guess this is to be expected, as she gets over 200% damage increase from her passive. But still, keep in mind that this is still without any kind of outside buffs. Like if you were to add the Herta's 80% crit damage boost, Tribbie's damage increases by a lot. And if you were to switch meshing cogs to her signature Lycone, her damage becomes even crazier. One more thing to keep in mind here is that this additional damage part is based on the number of targets hit. So if you have someone like the Herta, who pretty much always hits 5 targets, then this additional damage is also increased by 5 times. And not only that, this damage prioritizes the enemy with the highest amount of HP, so it's great for boss targets. All in all, in terms of damage amplification, even though both are pretty close, Tribbie does end up being better than Robin. And well, for all you the Herta mains, start saving for Tribbie, as she will become the best harmony support for the Herta. One more key factor to see who is better is versatility, which is one of the most important quality for a harmony support, and the one factor which kept both Robin and Ruanmei at the top for so long. And it's time to see if Tribbie holds up. Honkai Starville is a team-based game with several team archetypes, and here's a chart showing their performance based on these archetypes. I've also added Ruanmei to this list just to add a bit more spice. Excluding the single target hypercarry teams, as all are AoE buffers, for a crit based dual DPS team, Tribbie becomes the new best harmony unit. Robin is still the second best, but not as good as Tribbie. Now for the juiciest archetype, follow-up attack teams. I would say Robin is still the best, but Tribbie is just as good or sometimes even better than Robin. This was the most crazy thing I found while calculating Tribbie. I noticed that since Tribbie's additional damage does not have any kind of turn limit, it can proc for any and every attack inside her ultimate zone, and that counts for follow-up attacks as well. And if the follow-up attack hits more than one target, then the damage increases further, and that allows Tribbie to beat Robin in certain follow-up attack teams. One more interesting thing is that Tribbie can actually work in break teams, where Robin is completely useless. Since her buffs are rest penetration and damage taken, it can affect break damage as well. Even though Ruanmei is still the best in this regard, but if you want to try some no sustain teams, then I guess Tribbie can be a viable option. One more team archetype that is coming in the near future are teams with HP scaling damage dealers, like My Day, and we may get more in the future. Also, there was another HP scaling unit in the game, right? If I'm correct? I just can't remember his name. What was it again? Blade! Yeah, Blade. So, if you're still one of the only remaining Blade players out there, Tribbie is going to be your new best support. After all that, if you have to combine everything, Tribbie seems to have the most versatility among these units. This chart is based on my personal experience and also input from other theory crafters, so I am quite confident about it, but others can have different opinions, and I totally respect that. Overall, I think Tribbie is going to take the stage as the new best harmony unit in HSR. She is literally looking to be the second coming of Ruanmei at this point. She works everywhere, there is not a single team archetype that do not benefit from having her on the team. And with the new incoming HP meta and remembrance meta, having a unit like Tribbie in your account will be insanely helpful. My goal with this video was to give you guys a proper comparison, to help you guys make a decision. I've already made mine, as I'm definitely pulling for Tribbie. As for you guys, you can decide that for yourself. And that's all I have for this video. I've seen a lot of players struggle picking between Robin and Tribbie, so I hope this video helped a bit. If you have any further questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer them. Like and sub if you enjoy my content. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.